thousands of years ago, they were Apollo, Zeus, Ares. Now they are Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and the other heroes and villains of DC and Marvel Comics. Join us every week as we discuss the legendary stories, characters, concepts, and other parts of comics as we examine the modern pantheon of heroes. Let's get heroic. Welcome to Under Two Capes, the podcast for the comic book fan. Welcome to Under Two Capes, the only show that understands what a big mistake the Clone Saga was.
No, that's not true. That's not true, and I'm Lad.
Okay, so two things. Number one, Lad's a Clone Saga fanboy.
I'm not a Clone Saga fanboy. I'm a clone. I've never read it, but I want to give it the benefit of the doubt. I think it could be fun.
And two, actually, we may actually cover that on the show just for punishment. But anyway, this is a very special episode. So we're doing a story, and so Lad, being our Spider-Man expert, decided, hey, Jared, let me lead this one. So I was like, all right. So I told him, pick a Spider-Man story that you really enjoy and that you know pretty well. And he chose one of the oddest but pretty enjoyable Spider-Man stories. Lad, do you want to tell us a little bit about our story?
Yeah, so we're reading the Spider Island storyline. It's about 6 issues with a prologue and epilogue. And it's really just a brief overview of it. It's just all of a sudden, millions of New Yorkers are developing spider powers, and some of the heroes like the Avengers and Fantastic Four on the island are also just randomly having spider powers. And obviously Peter Parker is wondering what's going on. And there's some sort of deeper evil that's going on with all of this. So Peter's going to get down to and try to figure out what's going on.
Super good. I definitely enjoyed reading through this story. I thought it was, first off, my first Spider-Man story of all time. So I appreciate that.
It's cool.
But and it was also kind of interesting how many characters this story brought in.
Yeah, this is not just a Spider-Man event, but it was actually a Marvel crossover event, kind of like how they have one or two of those every once in a while, once a year. This was actually a full Marvel crossover, not just a Spider-Man one. So
that's dope.
Good stuff. There's a lot of side issues that tie into this, but we're just going to cover the main storyline for the time being. Maybe leave in the comments some of your favorite sections from the side storylines. I've read all of them, but we won't be covering that now. So to start off with a little bit of background history, we see Spider-Man has recently lost his spider sense, so he cannot actually detect when something bad's about to happen, that little premonition he has, and dodging attacks and all that. So he's really kind of a bit weakened at this point of his career, and he's just trying to gain back some of those skills. So he's right now trying to find a way to make up for the spider sense that he's lost. Also, he's now started dating this girl named Carly, and him and MJ have broken up at this point. And I think that's pretty much the main parts of the story that we need to understand to go into this.
Where is the story taking place in the larger Marvel universe?
So this storyline came out in 2011, and it's after Civil War storyline, most importantly. So we see some of the characters in their post-Civil War outfits, and Peter Parker's also, he's in high school again. So this is after some controversial storylines where he lost a lot of things. So he's back in high school, and we're just kind of, we're just here now.
Controversial is the PC way of describing that storyline.
We'll have to discuss that storyline another time, because I actually think it could be a good thing in the end. But anyway,
you got a lot of hot takes, buddy.
I won't even get started. I'm going to keep this strictly with Spider-Man. So we have the Amazing Spider-Man number 666 for the prologue
Jeez.
here. And we just starting off with Spider Island. Let's go. So a little bit of premise, Spider-Man bitten by a radioactive spider, gains superpowers, and it briefly discusses his backstory here, where he's Avengers and on the Future Foundation, which is the current name of the Fantastic Four. And this is actually a really important point I need to mention here. Is this is after his big time storyline, where he made a vow that he would never kill anyone, and not just
Okay, I was wondering about that.
he would no longer kill anyone, but he also would not allow anyone to be killed. So like that includes like his friends and allies, but also villains. So he's not going to let anyone be killed, even no matter how evil they are. He's going to find another way to handle the situation. So it's not even like what Batman, where he says, "I don't have to kill you, but I don't have to save you." No, he actually will go out of his way to save a villain to stop him from dying. So this, and we see here some of his cool outfits, like the bulletproof suit and the stealth suit right there. Let me just try to get moving along. I'll just zoom back out. All right, so
Yeah, I can see it. Looks good.
So we have Spider-Man back in action, and he's really just trying to get a handle on things. He's saying that, he's been really like fumbling around as Spider-Man in the past, but he really wants to be serious about how much he can do. Like, what can he actually be the best hero he could possibly be, after especially the whole big time storyline. So he's really working hard as a full-time Spider-Man, full-time scientist at Horizon High, and full-time on the Avengers and Future Foundation. So he's working really hard. And you see here that Spidey's running around, doing his usual thing, catching two bank criminals, taking them down pretty easily. And you see and here the people are actually pretty happy about Spidey. Like this guy's giving him like a cool like Gatorade or something after saving this bank, and the police officers are congratulating Spidey on his good job. And Spider-Man's like, "Sorry, I gotta run," and he's he vanishes, and he just travels across town from the bank robbery and heads over to fight Hydro Man.
Hydro Man.
Yeah, Hydro Man. So he's like Sandman, except water. Water. And what's pretty cool is that recently J. Jonah Jameson has become the mayor of Manhattan here. So it's pretty funny that he's no longer running the Daily Bugle, and he's the mayor, and his approval ratings are pretty far down, and his advisor saying it's because of your public stance against Spider-Man. And it's funny because the Daily Bugle actually published an article about how he's spending a lot of taxpayer money on anti-Spidey like weaponry. and he's like, these people don't know anything, like it's hogwash. This is Spider-Man's fault. People don't understand the truth, what's going on here. So
That's great.
J. Jonah Jameson is kind of in a funny spot, but he's trying to do his thing. We go back to Hydro Man fighting some of the young Avengers or young superheroes here, and they're just getting wrecked 3v1.
Mm-hmm.
Spidey comes in here, and Spidey's like, talking about being more serious. He, makes a few quips, but he already has prepared for this. Like he's starting to become Batman, like prep time. Comes in with like a frozen Spidey Rang and just freezes Hydro Man. Yep. So he's so like,
good.
He just takes care of him like real quick, like 2 seconds. And he's like, "All right, thanks. Now, so you guys just babysit Hydro Man statue for me." And they're just like, "Oh, okay." Spider-Man runs off again. He ends up back at Horizon Labs, which is really, prestigious laboratory here in New York, where he's now working on the side of being a student. And he talks about how, he used to be a photographer at the Daily Bugle, making money through like selling his pictures of himself, Spider-Man. but now he actually, does something more worthwhile with his time and is like a scientist, and he uses his gadgets. He makes a Spider-Man and then sells them with Horizon High. So it kind of like, makes sense, right?
Yeah. All right. Question. So he basically has the suit from Avengers Endgame, except he basically has Iron Man's suit because I can see like the suit all of a sudden dematerializing. That's cool.
So it's not quite the Avenger suit. What he has here is it just changes like color or changes its appearance. So it's physically still there, but it just changes its appearance from a
Oh,
Spider-Man suit to like a casual long sleeve, long pants shirt. And
that's cool.
and that's what he's saying right here, that he hasn't figured out how to make it turn into shorts and stuff like that. So it's
Okay.
physically in the same spot, and it's kind of uncomfortable for Spidey. So
Mm,
he's trying to get that Iron Man tech. It's patented though, it's kind of
that's
difficult.
cool.
So Spidey's going around showing off some of his freezing technology that he just used on Hydro Man, and some of these are the Max Modell is like the leader of the laboratory, and that's him on the far right.
Hmm.
And he's showing him, his latest invention. And, he's like, wow, this is a great invention, Peter, good job. And it's like, yeah, I just happened to come across this and made this awesome device for, obviously to freeze worms and stuff like that. But when we come later here, Carly is like, she's a detective, kind of like a cop, and she's at the crime scene that Spider-Man was at earlier, and she's talking about how there were sightings of Spider-Man around the city, and Spider-Man's starting to get confused on how this is happening, and he's like, I'm gonna have to investigate this later. I already have so much I have to deal with at the time. And she's like, I gotta talk about something, and Peter's like, no, there's just not any time about this. I can't deal with this right now, so bye. All of a sudden, he decides to cross the road. Why did Peter cross the road? And he almost gets hit by a bus, and he gets saved by this guy, and his friend, and because he forgot his spider sense, he doesn't have it anymore. So it's kind of like not having like your sense of balance. It's like you would just kind of like fall over the place. So he's just trying to get used to not having spider sense anymore. So 1 second. So right now he's talking with his friends, and he's like, oh yeah, how's it going? And what people don't know is that this guy over here is actually like kind of evil. Like he's actually the Hobgoblin, the latest version of the
Is that
Hobgoblin.
Ned?
I think it's no, it's not Ned, but it's
Oh, Phil.
Phil. I'm not sure exactly who that is, but it's the latest version of Hobgoblin. So Peter doesn't know that he's Hobgoblin, and if he had his spider sense, he would be able to, tell that something's kind of weird vibe with this guy that's giving him death stares, right?
Hmm.
But so Spidey runs off and goes on his day. We see May Parker is actually now married to J. Jonah Jameson's father, and they're getting ready to move out to Jersey and just live comfortably there outside of, New York is not a safe place to live. I guess
I
it's like
think they were
Gotham.
moving to Boston.
Was it Boston? I think
Yeah,
it
it
was
said so
Boston.
in the first page of the comic that basically gave like a recap.
Yeah, you're right. They're moving to Boston. That's right. So they're heading out to good old Boston, and it's probably safer for them. Honestly, it's just so dangerous in New York. I mean, even with all the superheroes around. But we cut around to just some gang fights going on, and this guy is like he just used like a Spider-Man move somehow, and we see him get approached by the Jackal, and Tarantula is the guy on the right. And I'm a big fan of Tarantula's design. He's a pretty cool,
It looks
creepy
pretty
looking
cool.
dude. He's pretty cool looking. And Jackal here, for people that don't know him, he's kind of like a scientist dude. Um, he, obviously takes the appearance of this Jackal now, but he's really into cloning and cloning technology. And so, he has some history with Spider-Man in the past that, some people want to forget about.
So what you're telling me is that he's responsible for the travesty of Clone Saga.
I believe I'm actually not, like I said, I'm not familiar with Clone Saga, but I'm pretty sure that he had, he's the one that did the Clone Saga stuff.
Oh my gosh. I hope this
But
guy dies a very slow, painful death.
yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So he says he gives him his calling card and he leaves. So we back at the now at the Future Foundation. The Sue Storm is going off on vacation with like all these kids here and the giant monster dude guy, very casual and
Gargoyle.
gargoyle. Yep, and Spidey has his cool like Future Foundation suit, which is black and white. Very
He
nice.
kind of looks like anti-Venom a little bit in that
Yeah, he
suit.
does, doesn't he? Very much so. We see him, he's getting a phone call from Mary Jane, and she's like reminding him of like everything he has to do. So even though they're not dating anymore, she's kind of like still running his life, which is kind of funny. And
That's great.
he's like, oh fine, I gotta deal with Aunt May and all this stuff. We see Agent Venom fighting some AIM soldiers. He's working for the US government now, and he's like kind of like a
Yes,
secret spy.
my
Flash
man.
Thompson. And what's cool about Flash Thompson is that he's actually lost his legs now, and when he's in the Venom suit, he can actually walk around and stuff.
That's cool.
So he's like, he's a soldier. They're working together, so he has kind of control over it. But it's Venom, so you're only in control for so long. So we see here that some of this, time goes on. People are starting to report spider-like symptoms, like they getting like sticking to walls. They're like, web fluid is coming out of their wrists. They're like sensing weird stuff, like premonitions, and so it's like there's some sort of like weird stuff starting to happen in the city, and Spider-Man's kind of not aware of what's happening yet because it's just everything's starting to go down. He's hanging out at Avengers Mansion. They're playing poker or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, hang on one second. I just wanted to check out that lineup real quick of the Avengers.
Oh yeah.
That's when I was reading that story, I'm like, wait a second, why is Hulk red? And I was like, oh, okay, I remember that. And it was kind of funny. They don't refer to him as Red Hulk. It's just Hulk.
Yeah, that's kind of funny, eh?
Yeah, we got.
Yep.
And Wolverine, who's basically on every Marvel. Wasn't he on the Fantastic Four at some point?
Probably. I mean, you know how he's like he gets around.
He gets around. And there's Ms. Marvel back when she was normal.
Yeah. So this is 2011. When did she become Captain Marvel?
I have to look. Hang on.
Yeah, because I think it was before All New, All Different, wasn't it? Or
become Captain Marvel. I'm looking. Hang on.
Mhm.
She became Captain Marvel, and let me see it. Bring it up. Hang on. Because I remember the actual Captain Marvel guy died. I was killed off.
Rip.
2012.
Oh, so just shortly after this storyline, eh?
Yeah.
So that's when Jared's hopes and dreams died.
Mm-hmm.
So we see here Spider-Man goes off, and I mentioned earlier that he lost his Spider-Man powers or his Spidey sense, which is a big thing about Spider-Man because that's like how his his little force thing he has going where he can kind of tell his opponent's next move, what's happening, his spider-like reflexes and stuff. So what he's doing, he's actually training with Shang-Chi here at a dojo of where Iron Man usually hangs out. I mean Iron Fist usually hangs out. And Shang-Chi's like, I'm gonna teach you how to use like the art of like the spider, like kind of like get your own natural kung fu instincts where you can actually you won't be as good as you were before, but you could still have like some instincts. So it's pretty cool storyline that Spidey's actually happened to train on his own to get that power here.
That's dope.
We see who the person he's actually going to fight against is Madam Web, I believe the second Madam Web, and she basically like can see the future. She's kind of like Doctor Strange. She can see like multiple timelines and realities of possible events in the future, and she can kind of see like she's very connected to all the Spider-Man type people, like all the people with spider abilities through the web of life. which is kind of like an abstract concept, kind of like the Speed Force or something, So she's here. She's trying to train Spider-Man, and she reveals to him that the reason we've been training you is because something bad's happening soon. And Spider-Man's like, "Wait, what?" And then she's like, "Yes, you're gonna have to, you have to kill someone." He's like, "Wait, what?" And it's and Spider-Man's like, I said I was not going to kill anyone anymore. I'm not doing it. And she says, I've already seen the future. You're you're gonna have to end up killing to save the day. And he's like, no, I'd rather die. And she's like, well, about that. And then he's like, okay, fine, I'm out of here. So like, he just drops out. He's like, I'm done. These people are so annoying. And he's kind of traveling around, and he doesn't realize he's being followed a little bit because he doesn't have a spider sense. And we kind of see him end up back in his apartment. Carly's there, and he doesn't want to talk to her because he's just like, I've literally like stopped like two criminal acts. I've been running around all day. You know how it is. Now we get to the Jackal, Jackal's pretty cool in his his little jackal lair. And I gotta zoom in for this scene, especially because it's pretty cool. His name is Professor Miles Warren, the Jackal. So he enters his humble abode here, and he's pretty full of himself. He talks to himself a lot. We see Tarantula here in the cool like military shorts and the awesome gauntlets and hood.
Those gauntlets are dope.
It's a pretty good look. And Jackal says, Jackal's walking in, and we see here something weird's going on because there's a lot of people that look exactly the same. And he's like, good work, Miles. Thanks. Miles 6 called in. And it's like, you know, like, Jackal's like, you're a man after my own heart, and other organs and everything else, And so basically, since Jackal clones people, he's cloned himself like many times. Like these are all clones of Jackal in his, original human form.
That's what he actually looks like.
That's what he normally looks like, I guess. And they all work for him. So it's kind of funny. Like his gang, that like, his scientist gang, is literally all copies of him. So he really goes all out with the cloning thing.
Wow.
So that's pretty funny. And he's walking in. He says that there's someone that wants to see you. And he's like, well, she's kind of like his benefactor. And we don't get to see her face. And she's kind of talking about giving him a new present here. And we see a man in a, chamber here, some sort of glowy chamber. Kind of looks like a Bacta tank, honestly.
Kind of, yeah, exactly. I was about to say that.
It looks like a Bacta tank. And, he's saying that we're going to try to, she wants him to turn him into Tarantula. This guy, Tarantula, over basically was a human and was turned to a giant like spider monster thing, which is really cool looking. And she wants to say, hey, this specimen I brought you is really valuable, and I want you to turn him into a giant, spider thing also. And so
okay, I know who that is.
We're kind of wondering what's going on. And we see that he's turned, Tarantula is a spider monster, and now he's turning this person into a spider monster. We're starting to think that, he has something to do with what's going on with people starting to develop spider powers. So we're going to see what happens with that, because people have been reporting bugs around town that have been biting people, and now people are starting to develop spider powers. So we're starting to get an idea of what's going on here. So he goes ahead and says, I'm gonna do it. And here is where we find out the identity of Tarantula, that it's actually Kane, one of Spider-Man's clones from the Clone Saga, who I am actually a big fan of Kane. I mainly knew him from
I'll give you that. He was cool in the storyline.
I remember him from the Ultimate Spider-Man TV show. He was pretty cool character.
They did the Clone Saga in that show?
They introduced some of the clone characters. It was actually really good. They actually did a really good job with it in the TV show. We'd have to cover that at one point, but sure. Yeah. So we come here, and Kane had been dead already before this comic. Like, he died and everything. And I think people wanted it to stay that way, maybe. But in one of the preludes, we see that Jackal goes to his grave, basically resurrects him as a spider monster, and then turns him into Tarantula here. So Kane is back. We have some of the clones returning, as everyone's happy about. And, you know, Jackal comes here and says, I turned Kane into Tarantula. I'm now going to turn this guy into the Spider King. And, you know, we see him bust out of it. He's like, roar, you know, roar XD or whatever. And he's busting out. He looks pretty cool. Looks kind of like Tarantula. And Spider Queen is able to gain a hold of him pretty easily. She has some sort of like mental abilities over this spider people. So, you know, she's saying that we're going to take over all of Manhattan, one spider at a time. And we cut to this final slide of everyone, you know, just jumping around town with Spider-Man powers. And we starting to get an idea of what's going on here. It's some sort of like, you know, the Jackal and this mysterious lady are trying to, you know, manipulate things behind the scenes and kind of, you know, what could seem like a good thing might not necessarily be so good, you know. Might, you know, careful what you wish for. All these people with Spider-Man powers, but if the Jackal's behind it, you know, that's not good news. So that's the end of the prelude comic of it. So I'll jump ahead. I'll try to go. I think I can go through it a little faster in the next one, since we just kind of had to set some stuff up for this first comic.
That was intense. Jeez.
Yeah, we jumped around with a lot of different characters, but that's okay. We're getting there. All right, so here we are with Spider-Man, the first arc, the first actual issue. We kind of see Spider-Man all of a sudden realizing that Carly has spider powers, and he's wondering if like it may have been due to sharing toothbrushes and, you know, stuff like that,
Or
and
mating, because I love how he puts like spider transmitted diseases.
oh boy, no,
I'm
it
like,
was from
oh
it was from
god.
sharing a toothbrush. Okay, Jared, and so he's talking about, you know, like, how did you get all this spider power? And he's kind of concerned, like, oh boy, how did this happen? And, you know, she's saying, of course I'll reveal to you that, you know, I'm Spider-Man, have spider powers. Why wouldn't I, you know, trust you with that? And he's like, that's a bad look for me, you know. So he's saying that we should go and get, you know, take you to the doctor and find out what's going on. And she's like, hey, I can be a superhero now. So we just leave them. We see Madam Web talking about some, you know, future stuff with Shang-Chi here, and the Jackal, Tarantula, and, you know, Spider King over here in this nice red, white, and blue coloring on him. They look pretty dope together. It's a you know, it's a good, like a, you know, squad photo. You know,
Looks
that's a
dope,
nice
yeah.
one. It's a nice one, and it looks like Jackal decided to put on his blue speedo for
Yeah, I know.
this now.
He looks like Namor a little bit there. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
bro, very intimidating. You got two dudes with like a arm gauntlets, 4 arms, and like really badass shorts. But
Yeah.
he's like, now I'm gonna go speedo.
The thing with Jackal, he's not really too much of a fighter. He's more of like, you know, behind the scenes, you know, doing all
He's a
this weird
manipulator.
science stuff. Yeah, he's the manipulator. So what he's doing here is he's gathered all these like low life that have developed spider powers, and he's trying to, you know, he wants to test out their abilities and stuff like that. He just goes through telling them about different, you know, like, you guys are going to work for me now, and he cracks open a nice case of classic Spidey costumes, and he says, everyone put stuff on, we're going to go cosplay in New York City and go have some fun out there. And that's going to be bad news for the heroes. So we keep moving along, and all of a sudden the entire New York, Manhattan here is overrun with a lot of thugs with spider powers running around in Spidey costumes, which is a bad look for Spidey, as if he didn't need more bad publicity. Talk about Spider Menace. And so to come and save the day, we have Future Foundation, the Avengers, some of the heroes for hire, like Cloak and Dagger, are here,
I
and
love
they
where
just
Hawkeye is like, everyone assemble.
yeah, everyone assemble. So he's just like, Hawkeye's here, and Hawkeye doesn't really like Spider-Man, so he's probably like, this is gonna be fun to punch all these Spider-Men in the face. So he's running around. There's a big battle happening in the middle of New York, and Peter Parker like hears about it, and he's like, oh shoot, we gotta go do something about it. And Carly runs off to go try to do something about it. Great power, great responsibility. And so Spider-Man's like, all right, I got this. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm gonna put on my spider suit and just get out there. And we have here J. Jonah Jameson's like, it's like a spider epidemic. It's like my worst. It's literally J. Jonah Jameson's worst nightmare come true. Like a whole bunch of Spider-Man running around, and he's like, deploy, the anti-Spidey defense force, and he's like, everyone was hating on me for investing all this money into this, police force, and who's laughing now? And it actually comes in handy. So he was right.
By the way, what I find it hilarious how you picked a pandemic storyline and nowadays.
Yeah, it was kind of like it was a bad timing.
No, it's
But
actually it's very, very good. I like that.
yeah, it's kind of cool, but it's stuck in Manhattan only for now. And we see a nice big action shot of all these different spider costumes. So look, you can see over here a classic Spider-Man costume. We see like a black suit Spider-Man. There's a nice Iron Spider suit over here. I think that's Ben Reilly Spider-Man. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but that's up in the top left corner. And so Spider-Man's like, all right, Petey's like, I'm gonna come and help save the day with this awesome team up with everyone else. And then all of a sudden, the Avengers and everyone start beating him up, and they're like, I got one, and they're like, no wait, it's me, guys. And then he's getting slammed around, and Grim is like, hey, dude, it's the real one, don't worry about it. But everyone's like punching him, and he's getting getting his butt handed to him. And we see here like all these spider dudes just lying around town. They've been beat up, but the war, it's basically like a mini spider war that's broken out here. So we'll jump ahead into the next Spider Civil War. So we'll jump to the next issue, number 2 of Spider Island.
If you go through all the way to the end, it gives you the option to move on to the next issue.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll try that. Yeah, let me see. So the cover art on these are pretty fun also. They have some nice...
Yeah, I love the art in this.
They have some nice art.
That's the whole thing. We know how Spider-Man got his powers.
Hey, sometimes I forget. No. But we come here and, Peter Parker's getting wrecked, and the heroes just tell Spidey, just stand on the side, leave it to the real heroes. We can handle it. And so Peter Parker's literally getting, sidelined in this awesome battle that's happening with everyone. And, the poor guy can't fight with everyone. And it's kind of sad. I feel like PD's always being, pushed to the side. So he's kind of, who's like, he's in a pretty downcast mood, just trying to deal with it. And we see here that one of Spider-Man's friends, or one of Pete's friends, are filming everything that's happening, and Peter's just waltzing around the city. He's like, yeah, bad stuff's happening, war is outbreaking. And he's like, wait a second, you got a camera, right? And like, let me just, we can use this for something. And MJ shows up, and she's like, Peter, why aren't you doing anything? And he's like, I'm just an average citizen. I can't do anything about this,
Yeah.
And
I love where she's like really like trying to hint at him, go be Spider-Man. She's like,
yeah,
don't you have something you should be doing right now?
Yeah, and he's like, nope, I'm just hanging out. And MJ knows that he's Spider-Man, but Carly, his current girlfriend, doesn't know about his Spider-Man stuff. So he's keeping it a secret. Like to quote Wonder Woman, some things good are born from lies. So we continue on with this here, and we see him. He's trying to think about something he can do to help save the day. and there's average citizens are actually, a lot of people are, using this power irresponsibly. They're like just going through and just like, hey, let's just destroy things, let's rob the city. But there's some citizens here that are actually like, we have this power, we can do something with it, like Spider-Man always does every day. And they're going out there and actually trying to be a hero and save people, like Carly, like some of these other blokes lying around. And Pete's like, there's a way I can help out here. And he actually goes on camera and he's like, hey everyone, like we have to do something to help save the day. All of us have spider powers. We can do something about this. We're superheroes. Let's save the day, everyone. And puts the call for help out there for anyone who'll answer it.
I will say,
And
I love how this is the one time where he can show his spider powers without being in the suit.
yeah, so yeah, it's like he's like he can casually show his Spider-Man powers now, eh? And we go to Jackal's secret lair, and he's like doing some weird science stuff with Spider King. He says he's implanting eggs into his like chest, kind of like
Ew.
alien style. And we go back to the battle, and the heroes are kind of getting like really overpowered here. And all of a sudden, Pete swings in here without his disguise on, with all these average citizens, like you see people like in their like, casual outfits, and like this guy looks like he's
driver.
UPS driver, like everyone's just like, like, hey, let's save the day. And everyone's running around fighting, and this one lady's like, I'm paying the babysitter like overtime for this, and the other guy's like, I have things I should be, I'm losing out on my work, but this is worth it. And so like it's kind of funny to see like all these average citizens helping out. And after many punches and pows and socks and pams later, all the villains are defeated, and everything's nice and happy. And J. Jonah Jameson walks over and he's like, wow, I can't imagine Peter with spider powers. That's something you don't see every day. And and he's like, he actually thanks like all the heroes and the people for saving the day. And he's like, and for my own defense force here. He says, but now a bigger mission is upon us. This is some sort of virus that's happening. People are developing spider powers on the island. What we have to do is have a quarantine and shut down the island. No one goes in or out of Manhattan, and we gotta find out what's going on here. And the CDC is gonna be set up on Horizon Labs where Peter works, and they're gonna try to find
this would never happen in real life.
Right. This this would never happen in real life. And they're just like, we're gonna set it up and we're gonna try to find a cure for this. So it's actually kind of weird, like the coronavirus 10 years later now, and it's kind of like that, quarantines and shutting down borders.
It was like that in the beginning. Jeez.
Yeah, it was kind of like that, right? They're like, no one knows. They don't. I mean, hey, it's kind of realistic, like a virus that no one knows what's going on, and they're gonna look for a cure. They're like, hey, we gotta find a way to do something. So islands on lockdown. People are just like, hey, it's kind of fun to have spider powers. People are now chill, and Peter's like hanging out with his girlfriend, and they're like, hey, it's kind of fun to just swing around town. It's like his dream to just be normal Peter Parker and hanging out, swinging around the city.
And there's MJ just like, oh man.
Yeah, she doesn't have spider powers for some reason. She hasn't developed them. And even though it seems like so many people have developed it now, this virus basically was, spread through the spiders that Jackal infused with like, Spider-Man powers, and they bit all the people in the city, and they're developing powers like Spider-Man. Except it's kind of funny. They have the organic web fluid, like it's kind of interesting, but MJ is the only one without it. So Spider-Man, or Pete, actually ends up at Horizon Labs, and he's like, all right, time to go see what's going on. And this is the new Centers for Disease and Control here, and they're like, we have a new head scientist to help with this. And well, of course it's Mr. Fantastic, because he's like the smartest person in the Marvel universe. They're like, you can find a way to make a cure for this virus. And Parker comes over here, and he says hi to Reed Richards, and they're like, it's kind of funny that they're talking, because I'm pretty sure that he knows his identity and everything. So
And you know what's
moving
hilarious?
along,
I love how fast people have mastered having spider powers.
right? Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny that that they you know you think they would take a little time to get used to using the spider abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting here is that we see, they're looking for a cure for the Spidey virus, and yeah, I guess you go with the spider virus, the Spidey virus,
The
and
Coronavirus.
Coronavirus. There you go. We see here a newer character that's been introduced, Anti-Venom, and he's basically, this is Eddie Brock, and he got this. It's an artificial symbiote where it was created specifically to be the antithesis of Venom, and when Anti-Venom makes contact with Venom, he basically wipes it out. So they kind of cancel each other out.
Oh, that's cool.
And
I
the
was wondering what that was.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, it's an artificial symbiote, and it doesn't have an consciousness. It's just a suit, or
Oh, so it's
organic suit.
totally in control.
Yeah,
So Brock is 100% in control of Anti-Venom.
yeah, he's totally in control of it. But Eddie is kind of weird at this point in his life. He's kind of really like like religious-y kind of, and weird, and kind of like he's like thinks he needs to like save the day, and he's like trying to make up for some of his past crimes and stuff like that. And so he's running around, and we see like he comes in contact with this spider person, and he basically cures him from the spider virus. And the guy's like, kind of pissed, obviously. But Anti-Venom is going around town, and he's realizing that he can actually cure people from their disease. He can save them. So he's like, he wants to actually try to do something good. So we're back here on the island, and we see that Agent Venom's being
I
deployed
love that.
for a fight. Agent Venom is a really nice design.
He's so badass.
So good, so good. He's a main character on Ultimate Spider-Man.
He's who what I would imagine the Punisher would mostly be like if he got the Venom symbiote.
Oh yeah, it's basically that he has guns and everything. He's really cool designs. So we come here, and Peter's looking around for some supplies, and he's trying to think of a way to find find a cure for this, find the where did all this come from, how did this get started. And we finished that one, and I think now we're on the third or fourth issue. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, if you hit read now.
Let me see. There we go. 1 second. So back here on Spider Island, continuing our adventure, and that big battle had just broken out. They're looking for the Spidey virus cure, and let's see. Is it okay? There we go. It was frozen for a second, and we see here that Peter's looking for somewhere where this all started from, what's going on, and all of a sudden they get attacked by a bunny furry. I don't know what her name is. I forgot.
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
And I think she's Mad Hopper or something like that. And
of course.
And she's there. They fight against her, and they're running around. Jackal's in his lair, and
I
he's
love how
talking
they're
about,
eating popcorn.
yeah, Jackal's just eating popcorn. He's watching everything that's going on, and Tarantula is like his kind of like little pet that he likes keeping around. And because he's Kane is a clone of Peter Parker created by Jackal, and now mutated into a more freakish monster. Kane is like, wants to actually fight against Peter. So he's like, let me loose, let me at him.
Mm-hmm.
And Spider Queen, we're starting to see a bit more of this mysterious lady here. and she's talking about how she's siphoning the energy of all these people with spider powers, and the more they use their abilities, the more that energy she gains. So that was like the whole reason they let loose all those criminals in the town, to get everyone to start using their spider powers more, so she gains more power. So we see here something's going on here. The Spider King is on the loose, and Agent Venom's been sent to basically take him out. And because Spider King is trying to escape the island, so they're really hunting him down. Agent Venom's, I think, a good match for them to fight against,
Mm-hmm.
So people are going about their day, having fun, going from to and from work as Spider-Man and
And there's
women.
MJ.
And MJ's literally just like on the ground, just like, you know, this is like the worst.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are starting to get, tired of staying on the island. They're trying to escape, and the Avengers are guarding the island with the mayor's help and keeping
And,
people on the island.
and aren't some people actually trying to get on the island in order to get powers?
Yeah, I think that's happening as well. Yeah, because people, hey, it's Spider-Man powers. That's like literally so cool, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's going on. They're trying to work on the virus cure, and they're trying to, for Corona, and they're trying to find a way to, fix all this stuff. Professors here working hard on finding a cure for this virus, and he's talking about like what's going on, and that this virus has been genetically created. Let me just waste it into the. So he's basically like creating, like, finding a way to kill all the bed bugs that have been genetically altered. So he's found a way to kill them all, but he said that this virus is now airborne, which is really bad. That's actually really bad. That's like actually really scary. But he's trying to find a cure for finding a cure for this, and he's like, if we don't find a cure fast, people are going to escape the island, and we're going to end up with the entire world infected with this virus. So right now they're actually doing a pretty good job at containing it, but they're going to have to find a way. So antics ensue, things continue happening. Anti-Venom's going around curing people, trying to help people out.
Jay Jonah actually, doesn't Jay Jonah contract the virus, and he's like, how could you do this to me?
Oh yeah. So yeah, so they're saying that like we can try to make a cure, but it only works on people that don't have the virus yet. And he's like, all right, well, give it to me. And he says, well, actually, you have the virus already. He's like, no. So you've become the very thing you swore to destroy.
Don't lecture me, Obi-Wan.
So things continue happening, and Madam Web is being like overloaded with her senses, because all these people being connected to the web of life, and it's like too much happening at the same time. And so she's just like way too much overload. Spidey's going around trying to do his things, and right now he's Spider-Man, and Carly wants to meet with him and find out some information. And obviously he doesn't know it's Peter Parker at the moment, and they travel along, counter Shocker, and now Shocker is even more shockery with 6 arms instead of 2, and he's fighting against Peter Parker.
Technically 8.
8. Oh, you're talking about the legs also?
Yes, technically 8.
Technically 8. Okay, works. Fine. So yeah, so technically 8, and Spider-Man's like, whoa, how did that happen? Like you have like 8 legs like a spider now, and Shocker's like, I need this money. Look what's happening to me. I literally have grown extra limbs and I have extra eyes. You have to help me. And Peter's like, oh man, we can get you some help. I'll find a way to help you out. So he's actually like pretty nice to Shocker. I mean, I guess they're like, they go way back. He's a longtime villain of him. And then he turns around and sees that Carly is being like mutated into a spider creature also. And the entire island is going crazy. And we see here that, things are finally about to happen. And this Spider Queen is going to take control of all of them. So she's really gaining power now. She's the Spider Queen. So we finally get to a reveal of this
Dang.
character. And she's actually been in the comics before.
Really?
But I think it's been a long time since she's been in the comics. But she's back, and she's basically been pulling the strings behind everyone. Jackal's working for her, and she's the Spider Queen, and she has telepathic powers. She's going to control all the spiders, and she's drawing power from them. So the more people that are infected, the more power she's going to get. Let's see, let that load up. So I think we're now on Amazing Spider-Man number. I think we're on the fourth. We're on the fourth one.
That mutation thing, I was like, oh no, I see where this is going.
Yeah, this is not good. Oh, wait a second. I thought
Keep going. I don't know what's going on with that.
Yeah, I think it just crashed. That's okay. I'll just open it from here. So we see here on the front cover how nice image of J. Jonah with some Spidey powers.
But can I say, it's kind of interesting when you think about it. Every character Stan Lee has kind of created, the first and last names are like alliteration: Peter Parker, J. Jonah Jameson, Reed, Richard.
Oh yeah, it definitely
Bing,
helps.
bang, boom.
It definitely helps. It's catchy. It's a clever naming scheme. So, so everything's going on. J. Jonah Jameson's been like infected. He's like, we gotta find a way to fix all this, and all of a sudden, people are starting to mutate. We saw that people, what was nice and fun, all fun and games before of having spider powers, they're now starting to mutate into actual spiders. Like they have teeth, extra arms, and they're like, oh boy. And we see here Avengers Mansion, Hawkeye all of a sudden just starts mutating into a giant spider monster. And we see all these people around town.
Just when you think Marvel's gonna cut Hawkeye some slack. Nope.
He's also become the very thing he swore to destroy. But
don't lecture me, Obi-Wan.
So we start to see here that literally these people have turned into full-blown giant spiders, like really kind of creepy actually looking.
Yeah, it's really scary. I was like, oh no. I'm not a guy who's afraid of spiders, but even I was like, uh-oh.
Like, this is like, imagine like you literally saw like a giant spider, like literally the size of you. That's like really freaky. I don't like that. And literally the entire town is becoming giant spiders. This is really bad. And you literally look at this. It's literally just giant spiders everywhere.
Oh,
and the thing is, and not just giant spiders, but these are actually like people that have been turned into giant spiders. So it's like, this is really scary. This is actually like pretty horrific. Oh boy. And so now we see Spider Queen. She's made herself public now because her powers are at her like peak. All the people have now fully mutated into spiders themselves. So this was her plan all along, basically turn all these people into spiders, and they connect to the web of life. And then she's going to feed off of that power, kind of like the Speed Force or something. And she's going to just become like the queen of all these monsters.
So basically the Spider Force.
The Spider Force, exactly. So she's now the queen of the spider. She marks Spider Island. She's saying this is Spider Island now. This is no longer Manhattan. So I think she talks about some of her backstory about how she fought in like she was a pawn that was used. She was experimented on and turned into a thing of war. And so we see some like classic battle here between took over a classic battle between Spider-Man and Captain America here. And so I think it says here that Spider-Man, Spectacular Spider-Man 15 and 20. So this is like way back actually when she, they're showing these flashback scenes of her. And they show that, they basically fought way back in the day. And now she talks about when she resurfaced, she actually snuck up on and took out Captain America. She literally like managed to defeat Captain America and captured him. And, they're like,
And that right there should tell you she is a force not to be trifled with.
yeah, I know. He never stood a chance. And you're starting to wonder, well, she captured Captain America, he has been missing. Where is he? And then all of a sudden you realize, wait a second, the Spider King is red, white, and blue. And then you're like, oh, she captured Captain America and turned him into this spider monster. It's actually a pretty dope design. Maybe he should
pretty
keep it.
cool.
It's a pretty cool design.
Let me tell you this. Reading this story, when I got to that reveal, I was like, oh, that's actually really cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think you saw that coming, did you?
No, I did not. No. I was like, okay, so Captain's... I didn't even notice at first the red, white, and blue. I was like, okay, it's some dude. And then I was like, oh.
There you go. There you go. So, Anti-Venom's trying to do his thing. He's like set up in a church and he's saying to everyone, come here and I can give you salvation. I'll cure you from the diseases and everything like that. And
that sounds like.
Yeah, exactly. And he's trying to do that. And some of the heroes are not turning into monsters. And they're trying to save the day, trying to find out what's going on. And
looks like we got the X-Men.
Yep, we have some of this is the X-Men. Yeah, my bad. These are the X-Men around here trying to help out. And what they're doing is they're actually setting up these containers to try to I think it's like a container that tries to stop down like the virus, like trying to hold back the virus. Like these containers are gonna let out a signal that slows down the virus spread. And all these people are starting to turn into monsters, and they're like, we gotta find a way to find a way to cure this. Spider-Man's out and about, like he's just like, what do we do? What do we do? Spider-Man comes in and I'm gonna zoom in for this because this is a pretty important part. Everyone's trying to find a way. They're trying to evacuate the mayor to somewhere safe. Let's see. So J. Jonah Jameson's driving away in the car, and Peter comes in and saves them from a giant monster. And he's talking about it. J. Jonah Jameson,
Spider-Man.
J. Jonah, he's like, I'm not being saved by Spider-Man. And he says, pull over. And he's literally like, I'm gonna do this myself. He literally comes out and saves the day himself. And he's like, Peter, I don't need you. Spider-Man, I don't need your help. I'm gonna do it myself. And he's like,
so J. Jonah Jameson.
You're the sensational Spider Mayor, and he's like, shut up. And it's like, so he just.
This part was like the most hilarious part of the story. It's just Peter making quips about J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he's
like, hole for your mustache out of the costume.
Yeah, Jolly Jonah. So it's actually pretty cool. We see a JJ team up with Spider-Man here, which is not something you think you'd ever want to see. We zoom back out and we see that Spider-Queen is slowly taking over more and more of the city, and they're trying to find, she's like, once she gains enough power, she's going to be basically unstoppable. They're trying to find the cure, and they're back here. The mayor has now been safely taken to Horizon Labs. Spider-Man's here, and they're working on the cure for it. Let's see. Jumping along, and all of a sudden, you
Who was that
know,
other guy?
I believe that's Alistair Smythe, I think.
Okay,
He's
you
like
mean that
he's like he's like an Oscorp scientist of sorts. He's usually like a uh
who became like a weird spider monster?
something like that, right? And J. Jonah Jameson is actually like becoming a monster now. That's
You become the
bad
very thing you swore to destroy.
again. And we see here Venom is actually fighting off against Anti-Venom, and there's like wars breaking out everywhere. And then all of a sudden, finally, Mary Jane is starting to develop her spider powers. Yay! Finally. So let's see. And it says here that 99.9% of all people are contaminated now. So they're trying to find, things are really dire, and they're just moving along. Jay Jonah is like becoming a monster and like destroying everything, and he just like he's just full on monster at that point. And these things are getting bad. Now the mayor's turned into a monster, and I'm pretty sure they said almost everyone is except for Jane, a few others also.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll load up the next issue. So we see here, Mary Jane is out trying to, help save the day. She breaks into a building and saves some people from spider monsters. Peter Parker is in Horizon Lab trying to save the giant monsters here, stop the giant monsters. And, Spider Queen is going around taking control of all the people. Mr. Fantastic is going to try to use a cure that he developed and see if it works. And it kind of does. It kind of works a little bit, but he's not sure if it's going to work fully. So let's see. Where was I?
And that's the cure they got from Brock, right?
Yeah, it was the cure they got from Brock. They used some of Eddie Brock's anti-venom power and developed a cure for it. And it actually broke part of their it broke part of her bond to it. So you can see here that Spider Queen is actually, feeling disconnected from some of her spider people. She's like, this can't be. They're actually using anti-venom to stop this, And she sent Spider King to destroy anti-venom, but Spider King has been, captured again, and everything's just falling apart, and we have to do something to stop this. And she's freaking out. And then you see here that though Jackal's reading a book about cloning's future on American Science Journal, and he's just pretty chill, and he's like, all right, so you want me to go to Horizon Labs and just go destroy the cure so that they can't do anything? Way ahead of you. And he's like, Peter Parker works there. We can go there. And he's like, I have an inside man on the job, because Tarantula already knows quite a bit about Peter Parker. So zoom back out. They're coming up here. They're developing a giant vat of anti-venom that they use from Eddie. And basically, they're going to take all of his anti-venom away and use it to cure everyone. And they're like, are you sure about doing this? And he's like, take everything. I won't spare anything to save all these people. And so they're trying to develop this cure here from the anti-venom.
And by the way,
And
this scene blew my mind.
Oh, with Morbius.
Because the whole time, even previously in the story, they go, "Oh, don't worry, we're just talking to number 6." So the whole time you're wondering who the hell is this guy, and all of a sudden you see this and it says Dr. Michael Morbius, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, so there's something going on here. Some guy sneaking in, and so Peter's running around. They're trying to hold back the last trying to save the day without killing the spiders, because these are like people, and the scientists here at the CDC are trying to find a way to keep everything shut down. Madam Web bursts in and she says that what they've been doing so far with the I think it was like the antivirus spreading devices are like stopping her power to the web, and she can't like see the future properly. So they're saying you need to deactivate, those anti-venom spreading devices. Peter coming over to where the cure is being created to help out, and all of a sudden Tarantula has broken in, and now Tarantula and Peter are fighting. So basically Peter's fighting himself now in a Clone Saga
Oh boy.
3, maybe
You
4.
had to bring up Clone Saga.
So they have a rematch from Clone Saga fighting here, and he's like, Peter's like, Clone Saga was a bad idea. I hate it. It was the worst thing ever. And Tarantula's like, it was great. I loved Clone Saga. We should do Clone Saga again sometime. And they're
have,
fighting,
and it's just as bad.
They're fighting. They're going back. There's some back and forth here, and all of a sudden, Tarantula's coming in, trying to destroy things. Eddie is completely stripped of all his anti-venom suit. Tarantula and Spidey fighting, breaking loose. Fight goes on, and then all of a sudden, Tarantula is dropped into the cure, the giant vat of cureness, or whatever, the antivirus, and he comes out restored back to his original Kane form. And Peter didn't know that it was Kane, and he's like, he's like, bro, where you been? Like, you're dead.
That's about the one time throwing someone in comic books in a vat of chemicals actually does something good.
I know, right? Oh boy, that's pretty funny. That's so you see here that that's Kane, like, he's still alive, and he's like, dude, the Jackal is, doing stuff, and it's the Queen. She's back, the Spider Queen from way back, and they're like, oh shoot, we gotta stop her now. So Madam Web is kind of, sensing all this stuff that's happening. Jackal's realized that, he's lost contact with Tarantula, and, Spider Queen is getting pretty upset now because things are going not her way.
And it looks like she kills Jackal.
Oh yeah, she kills Jackal here because she's mad at him for like failing. But
you failed me for the last time, Jackal.
Jackal has plenty of clones lying around. I don't think he's dead, actually.
Yeah.
So he looks like he dies there. So the thing is, he clones himself. So I think I'm pretty sure he's okay. So now we're on to the last regular issue, but we'll cover the epilogue briefly. Cool. So the final issue of Spider Island here. So we got cool Spidey and MJ on the cover, and we have part 6, boss battle. Kane and Spider-Man are now here, and Captain America has been cured from the Spidey virus also. And
he's got that dope energy shield.
He's got the dope shield. So Cap's dropping down. He's like, he's been deployed to take out Spider Queen, and he's fighting a battle against her, trying to defeat her. And then Agent Venom pops in and wipes her out. And they think that she's dead. And then she mutates into a giant Omega level threat. And she's an Avengers level threat now. And
don't worry, all we need is Godzilla or King Kong to show up, and we're golden.
Yeah, I actually kind of
like Kaiju.
I like kind of like Agent Venom and Cap. I want more of that team up.
Yeah, that would be actually a dope comic, right?
That'd be really good. So Spider Queen is now mutated into her like full form, and it's like really monstrous, and she's totally, really kind of crazy. And Kane and Peter Parker are here, and they're like, we have the cure. MJ shows up, and they're like, trying to find a way. You know, they're like, hey, we have the cure. We gotta do something about this. You know, what's the plan? And Kane walks over and he pretends to be Peter Parker here. Do you see this? I thought this was pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And no one's suspicious about the fact that Peter's in his underwear for no reason.
Yeah, yeah. And so it's funny because, like, you know, let's see, where is it? That like, like,
Wallop and web snappers.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, okay. It's actually Peter. Peter is in his underwear, but Kane is in the Spider-Man suit right now. They switched costumes.
yeah, yeah.
So he's like, "Hey guys, you know," and like it's Spider-Man, and then you know,
Mr. Fantastic is so confused because he knows he's Spider-Man.
he's like, "What's going on?" And then he's like, Max Modell is like, "Don't worry about it. He's Peter is a very weird person, you know." And Reed, you know, stretches his neck over. He's like, "Hey, dude, what's going on?" And it's like, whatever, don't worry about it. So they go to their lab, and Spidey gives Kane the, you know, the big time suit, or the bullet is a bulletproof spider suit. It can do
Which
stealth
looks
armor.
amazing.
It's pretty cool. It has a stealth armor, a stealth version. It also has like a sonic version of it. So you know, he has cool stuff now. And so now they're running around, and they, you know, the giant, whoops, this is a giant full page cutout of, like, you know, Spider Queen
Okay,
destroying everything.
real quick. I love how Agent Venom is on the wing of that Apache. That is the coolest thing of all time right there.
That is a nice look,
He's
isn't
just
it?
casually on there shooting with a machine gun, and I'm like, okay, even though that wouldn't work in real life, this is comic books.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And I mean, hey, you can. He's Agent Venom. He can do it. And
Yeah.
they're like, the rest of the heroes are setting up like a final like defensive for this. Like, this giant monster is destroying everything now, and everyone's spider people. And Madam Web shows up and says that she's like, you know, she's you know, she's gonna infect the rest of the world. You know, she's gonna escape the island, and she's gonna infect the world now. There's no way of stopping her. You know, she's a god now, and we have, you know, there's you know, we have to find a way to stop it. And kind of cute here is that Peter's like, Parker Brothers away, and Kane's like, we are not the Parker Brothers.
And Kane's like, no, we're not. You use it as a battle cry. We'll get sued. He goes, well, we can't get sued if we're dead.
Yeah. Oh boy. So they show up here, and you know, they're fighting, and they're, you know, Peter's the gang wrecked, and MJ shows up and lends a helping hand, and they're like, you know, we need to find a way to disperse the anti-venom, you know, because she gains all her power from the spider monster. So if we can find a way to, you know, cure them and also defeat her, that'll be good. That's a good plan. So they run off, and they remember that they stopped Dr. Octopus recently, and he had all these Spider Slayer robots. And so they're going to try to use these for something. So we have this cool shot of Cap leading this assortment of Avengers here, and they're like trying to, like, you know, lead a final stand in Union Square. And Peter and MJ are running off to like the center of a giant building here, and Spidey puts on
Empire
this
State.
Empire State. There you go. Spidey puts on his helmet and controls all these Spider Slayer robots that are infected with they have the venom, the anti-venom installed in them, and he runs around and starts, you know, curing people of all the spider diseases they got. So we have the cool, this is a full page or a 2-page shot of all the heroes fighting against the Spider Queen, you know, punching monsters.
Hulk getting absolutely wrecked.
Hulk, yeah, Hulk's getting handed. Cap's there with an awesome energy shield. Iron Man's there. It's a good look. It's a good fight. And we see here that Spider Queen is feeling the effects of people being turned back to people. Like, she's losing some of her powers. And so she's
I will say, real quick, there was this great scene earlier when Ben Grimm is like, is saying, when MJ shows up, And Ben Grimm was like, "Oh, great, we have a Spider Woman." And Spider Woman turns to him and is like, "I'm right here."
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty funny. Yeah, I remember. I forgot about that. Yeah,
That was
Spider
so
Woman,
good.
slight, kind of neglected,
Hmm.
and Peter's cool. He's like, I'm not just gonna save the day. I'm gonna save everyone. Like he uses the psychic helmet here and controls all these Spider Slayer robots and starts going to every single person and curing them of their diseases. And MJ's like, I love you. Like this is like you're like this is why you're so awesome. And you know, they go around the tier, and all of a sudden,
That's the greatest image right there, dude.
yeah, and Madam Web said that Peter Parker's gonna have to cross that line and kill the spider, kill the save the day. And it turns out what she was seeing was actually his clone, Kane, and he literally gets these awesome like spikes coming out of his like hands, which is like a weird spider ability that's actually like has some more uh it goes deeper than just developing these spiders
Spider
stingers,
spikes.
spider spikes, stingers. Yeah, and he turns like his sonic abilities on and literally blasts through the Spider Queen's mouth.
After being
And
thrown by Carol Danvers.
exactly, being thrown by Carol Danvers, gives her a toss, and then all the heroes unleash on the Spider Queen and absolutely obliterate her. And he's like, "I'm Kane," and the day is saved. The Spider Queen is dead. You know, Kane is around. Kane is alive again. The heroes are talking about how everything is good, and Spider-Man cured every one of the viruses and brought, turned everyone back into people. And we see here that people are just trying to survive all this. People are just happy to survive all this, and Peter gives MJ his spider suit to like wear, and all the people that got turned back into from spiders are naked because their clothes ripped off after. They don't have the magical Hulk pants that stay with them when they transform. So there's a lot of public nudity out on the streets right now. So Peter and MJ just share a moment here on the Empire State Building, and they kind of have a little bit of connection here, and we have the end of the story. So I'm not sure, Jared, is this where as far as you read to in the comic?
Yeah, that's I read the main story and not including the prologue and epilogue.
I see. I'm gonna cover the epilogue because there's actually
Okay.
and there's an important thing that happens here. So in the epilogue, we see here that day's been saved, everyone's dumping their spider costumes, Spider Queen's been destroyed, the people are going back about their normal lives, everyone's
Lots of
naked.
nudity.
Everyone's naked. They're putting, everyone's like, hey, put some clothes on, man. And people are chatting, and you see here that look, very nice damage control has come to clean up the giant mess that was of the Spider Queen, like all her
And there's
like
Jackal.
organ. And it turns out that Jackal is driving the damage control. So he's saying here that the guy that died was actually just a clone, and he's around, and he was actually playing this all along. Like the Spider Queen was using him, but he was like, I was using her. I actually wanted her to be destroyed because I wanted all this like genetic material from the Spider Queen. So he's gonna use this for some sort of future plot that yeah. I like this here how we'll jump ahead a little bit that yeah, tell your brothers, I need that bone marrow. I can use all this beautiful, queen DNA for something important. And so he's like, wait a second, how did you knew this was gonna happen? And Jackal's like, please, I knew that I could do something amazing with all this. And he's like, this was my plan. It's funny that the clone is like, she killed you. And he's like, it was just a clone of me. The real Jackal, I was at a distance the whole time. But
This is Marvel going, oh, don't worry, we can't kill. We're not going to kill him. We're just going to come up with some weird clone excuse.
exactly. It's funny that Jackal talking to him. It's like a clone, and the clone didn't even know the whole story, so he's like asking questions to the original. He's like, but they said that he was the original one. What's going on? And he's like, I'm a mad scientist. I can do whatever I want. So we'll find a new way to defeat Peter Parker. So you see here that you know Jackal's got some other plans up his sleeve. MJ and Peter Parker start to make a connection here, and he's like, I gotta run. And
then he forgets that she still has spider powers.
Yeah, she still has spider powers after all this.
Once
And
again, I love how she has mastered these spider powers faster than Peter Parker did.
yeah, I know. uh it's kind of funny, but we see here that Kane is getting ready to travel. He's like, I'm leaving. We can't be in the same city. I have my own plans. Madam Web told me that I'm needed somewhere else. So it's kind of cool that we actually get a revival of the Scarlet Spider comic. This kind of started that. And Kane's gone. He leaves. J. Jonah Jameson's, enjoying his day. Spider-Man's back to being Spider-Man, saving stuff. People are thanking him. Now, this is what's the big thing that happens here. Spider-Man comes back home to his apartment, and he talks to Carly, and he realizes like, oh shoot, I totally forgot about Carly. He was thinking on MJ this whole time, and he cured Carly and everyone else, but he totally forgot about her. Like, he stopped thinking about her, and he kind of fell in love with MJ a little bit. And it's like, he's like, I left your spare key, I'm leaving. And she's like, she knows that she wasn't there, and she knows that he's been lying. And then he realizes that I know your secret, Parker. I've been, I went through all the clues. I realized, after everything, she's a detective. She knows all these things, and she realizes that you are Spider-Man after everything that's happened here. So the consequence of everything that's happened is that realize that he's Spider-Man, and she's pretty upset that he didn't tell her. And he's like, well, it was to protect you and everything, but she's upset. She doesn't. She doesn't. She's pissed, and she's like, just say that you're Spider-Man. And he's like, I knew that the reason why she found out that he was Spider-Man was because everyone else kind of messed up their spiting powers a little bit, like with a learning curve, but Peter did everything perfectly. Like, he didn't mess up at all. And she noticed those things. Like, he didn't like mess up when they try to use their spider powers. So he like had a lot of, familiarity with that. And so she started to put the pieces together, and, she realized that he's Spider-Man, and she's mad about this, and she runs off, and she's done with him. And he's left wondering what could have been. So poor Peter.
And then in retaliation, he walks down the street snapping and dancing like Bully Maguire.
Right, exactly. So what's funny is that after Civil War storylines, he revealed his identity to the population, but Doctor Strange did a special magical ability and made it that everyone would forget that he was Peter Parker, and that no one would be able to find out his secret identity. So him and all his family would be safe as long as unless he revealed his identity to people, then the magical power would be gone, and people will be able to find out his secret again. So Peter's wondering, like, how could this happen? My identity is supposed to be magically protected now, so he needs to find out what's going on. So he runs over to Avengers Mansion to ask to see Stephen Strange, and Stephen's talking to him, and he's saying, why did Carly find out my power? How is that possible? And he said that, it's because you revealed yourself to be Peter Parker when you said when you said that you unmasked yourself in front of all the people and said that you were I'm Peter Parker and I have spider powers, and he rallied everyone together. That was like him admitting that he was like
Oh,
Spider-Man. So the magical enchantment that protected him is now gone.
okay.
And so you revealed yourself to the world again, technically. So it's not a full-blown admission. It destroyed the spell, and now it's gone. So now, not everyone's going to remember, but people can now learn his secret identity again. So that's how Carly found out. So Carly was able now to put the pieces together. So Peter's back to good old days. He's lost that, and he runs over to Horizon Labs, and he's asking Max Modell for some of the cure, and he goes over. He's talking with Madam Web, and she's doing her future stuff and saying that uh, you're gonna have to need to do some stuff. So we get here to the final part of the comic, and MJ's enjoying her spider powers. She just has them naturally now, and pull over, pull over the
Yeah, I was
web.
about to say, I love that.
On the web, pull over. He's like, time to stop this, because she's eventually gonna turn into a monster. And he's like, I got you the venom, and he's like, he gives him the venom, the anti-venom, and cures her from the disease. And that was fun while it lasted. I won't lie to you, it was pretty cool. But I've seen you do like all these hero stuff as Spider-Man, but now I actually got to see it for myself, like what's like to be Spider-Man. Great power, responsibility, and also great sacrifice. Like he, gave up everything, and she's asking what's wrong with him, and he, Carly broke up with him, and he's like, it happens all the time. I'm used to it. Whether or not people like me, I have to do things. That's what it means to be a hero. I have to sacrifice everything to do this. And it'd be nice if like once in a while I got like some attention, and tonight, MJ saying that people do care about you. Look at that's the Empire State Building. We saved the city. So look over there. They did something. All the people wanted to thank Spider-Man, so they did something special for him. So
She just turns his head.
yeah, New York saying thank you to him by lighting up the Empire State Building with red and blue, and everyone's saying thank you to him, which is kind of nice because Spider-Man always like never, he always misses out on so many things because he sacrifices so much, but here people are thanking him actually.
And then if you actually read the comic really closely, you could hear the original cartoon Spider-Man theme.
Exactly. You can. It's definitely, you can. So
that was a great story. I definitely enjoyed reading through it.
Yep. So that leads us to the end of it, and yeah. And so you can see that Spidey, and MJ are starting to get a little bit of a thing going again.
Most likely reforming their relationship, because that's what I've noticed always happens. They break up, they reform, they break up, reform. She's like Batman and Catwoman.
Yep. So yeah, I think that was a pretty long cover through or deep dive into Spider Island storyline. But yeah, I've talked a lot, Jared. What do you think of it? What are some of your highlight areas, or your key parts?
The parts that I enjoyed the most is like when the Thing keeps making Spider-Woman jokes, and Spider-Woman's like, "Hey, I'm here, dude."
Yeah, she's kind of neglected.
I love where Hawkeye, because Marvel always makes Hawkeye out to be like the most useless Avenger possible. Finally, he gets spider powers, only to mutate into a spider monster.
Rip.
I'm like, come on, bro.
Yeah, that was a funny moment actually. I really liked Jackal, seeing Jackal running around, and I thought he was like, he never like attacked anyone. He was always just like doing his weird science stuff, and he was like cloning things.
He's
He's had a
reading the clone magazine.
reading a clone digest, like he had a funny personality, he's
Yeah, he was great. I liked him. He's like, yeah, I know. Go slow down the cure process. I
yeah.
know.
Yeah, and Spider Queen was a cool character also, where her whole plot where she was basically infected everyone with spider powers, and then when that happened, they got connected to the web of life, and then she could draw from their life energy and just take over the whole world and infect everyone. So she had a pretty good plan, like all she had to do was spread the virus out to the rest of the world now, and she literally everyone would have been turned into spider people, and she would have been the queen over everyone, like literally take over the world. I mean, that's
Spider
pretty good.
World.
Spider World.
Yeah. I felt that was pretty dope. What I'm wondering is, where the hell is Thor at this?
Yeah, he's probably off some
You
Asgard
notice
things. Yeah.
this is the way comic writers do it. Any hero that could conceivably end this in 2 seconds is conveniently somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like in any DC movie where it's like a Justice League level threat. It's like Superman is conveniently somewhere else.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, come on, guys.
Yep. No,
I thought that was kind of cool. I thought it was kind of cool how it involved so many other heroes, so it didn't seem like it was only a Spider-Man thing. Like you had the Avengers,
right.
you had the Fantastic Four. I'm calling the Fantastic Four, and then the X-Men. Because what I noticed is see, the thing about Marvel Comics is most of their guys are based in New York, and the problem with that is that when you're reading like a normal Spider-Man comic and he's swinging around, conceivably you should see more superheroes per comic, at least in the background doing stuff.
Yeah. I know what you mean, yeah.
But I did yeah, that Captain America reveal, I was like, okay, that's dope.
Yeah, that was a pretty good. Yeah, they had some good. It was a really good storyline. They had some good plot twists where it was like Captain America was revealed to be Spider King. Tarantula was the resurrected Kane, and that he actually came back and got to fight. He actually defeated the Queen in the end, so she got a prominent spotlight there. And I'm a big
I
fan.
love where Ms. Marvel is like, okay, there's this move that Peter Parker and I have been practicing. Just shoot a web at me and hold on for dear life. Then she just whacks him at her.
Yeah, that's funny. I like seeing their little dynamic there. Hey, Peter Parker, you
and
got
then
something?
The Wolverine claws pop out, and the suit was full orange, and he's like, boom.
Yeah, busts through the Spider Queen. That was cool. He had a good moment there.
Yeah, and I love how many Clone Saga jokes they made about it's like when the clone shows up and everyone's like, "Oh, not this again."
Yeah, that's funny.
Even Marvel doesn't like the Clone Saga.
Yeah, that was a good little thing they had there.
It'd be hilarious if Ben Reilly showed up and was like, and was also helping, because then it's like, and they call it Spider Clone Island.
Yep, Spider Clone Island. Yeah, I think he comes back in the Spider-Verse storyline. I think they bring back Ben Reilly.
Of course.
So, yeah, that was cool. They had some.
Also, isn't this also pre the introduction of Miles?
This is, I believe I think the Ultimate Comics already started happening, but this is before they put him in the main continuity.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, so he was on his own world.
Yeah, he's on his own world for now, at least.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he first appeared in 2011.
Oh, really? That's the Ultimate Comics started in 2011?
No, he first showed up in Ultimate Fallout #4.
Oh, okay.
Because I think, yeah, that was like the time period when their Peter Parker died.
Okay, so it's all around this time then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy that Miles is only like 10 years old. Like he's like I remember, yeah, I mean, he was a pretty new character. I remember hearing about all the Ultimate Comics stuff. It was really cool concept back in the day.
Yeah, I felt it was really good. I love the Ultimate Universe. I really feel like that they should bring that back. Play with the multiverse. DC has shown you it works.
Yeah, I guess they decided that, they really had the main continuity and then the Ultimate one to do new ideas, but they're like, when they finished off I think it was Secret Wars storyline, they kind of merged everything together, and they're like, we know we have multiple Earths sometimes, but it'll be so much easier if we just make everything on one Earth. So they just kind of like merge the best parts of it together, and they already make the regular comics more modern anyway. So I guess it works.
Yeah, I know. It's just the issue with bringing in Miles into this world is that now we have two Spider-Men. He's still known as Spider-Man. He's not that different from Spider-Man, and he doesn't even have like his own rogues gallery, and he he's constantly in Peter Parker's shadow.
That is a good point. That Miles does struggle a little bit when Peter Parker's around.
But don't get me wrong, he's a really great character. He is one of my favorite Marvel characters.
Yeah, Miles is awesome.
But that's the back up because the reason why I asked this is pre-Miles because I didn't see him in there.
Right? Yeah, Miles wasn't around, spinning around.
But yeah, I definitely I felt it was pretty. It was definitely a storyline I enjoyed for like my first Spider-Man comic that I've read.
I think it worked for you, especially because it had a lot of the other heroes you're familiar with. So it wasn't just a Spider-Man storyline. So that helped you ease into it a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. It was a good transition.
Yeah, I think it was. I think it was a good. I saw Iron Man, Cap was there, FF.
Yeah, I was saying the reason why it took me so long to get into Marvel comics because as a DC reader, I was trying to find like what's the best way to transition, which is why I like the Squadron Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
And then Spider-Man, I find is like that one comic that like everyone enjoys.
Yeah,
it's not like no one's like, oh, I hate Spider-Man.
I really enjoy Spider-Man. I really like the costume, and I love all the different variations, like his different suits or the alternate Earth versions of him. He's
basically
really
high school Batman
really good.
with spider powers.
Yeah, it's basically that. Spidey has a really good stuff.
My favorite part of the entire comic is when he's saving J. Jonah Jameson and he starts making J. Jonah Jameson Spider-Man quips.
Yeah.
That was great. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll cut a hole for your mustache in the suit."
That was so good.
What was your absolute favorite part?
Absolute favorite part. Ah, man. I mean, I really like the Tarantula and Kane battle. The Tarantula versus Spider-Man battle was really good. I like seeing them together, and then kind of like the Spider-Man seeing basically like his brother show up, or himself.
Basically, it might as well be his twin brother.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that definitely pretty dope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I felt it was kind of interesting. They had to give him long hair because otherwise the people reading the book would be like, which one's Kane?
Right, yeah. That's kind of funny, actually. It's a good point.
Oh, I love that one part where Kane is in the Spider-Man suit and Peter Parker's in his underwear for no reason. And then Mr. Fantastic is like, what's going on here? And then Peter Parker's like, clone, don't ask. Just go with it.
Just go with it. Yeah. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, it was great.
Oh, man.
It kind of makes you wonder what. I also liked how like New York itself became a character with like all the people coming together to help Spider-Man, or even in the beginning of the very beginning of the storyline, he talks about how in New York itself is a living organism. I thought that was really cool.
Right. Yeah. He kind of talked about that a little bit about how all the the people that make up the city are important there.
Also, kind of funny. This is my first introduction to Carly. So when he shows up in the first page of the comic I read, I was like, "Who are you?"
Oh, you didn't? Oh, yeah. She's like a slightly newer character, so you might not have known about her as much. Yeah, but
I was like, she has spider powers, and then also I love where. So Peter's asking MJ, "Okay, how come you haven't like turned yet?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, Reed thinks it's probably because I'm immune from when we and they're very and you."
I think you're frozen.
Okay,
you're back now.
All right, so I love where she's like, where Peter's like, "Okay, so how are you not changing into a spider, MJ?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, Reed thinks it's like I built up an immunity because I have so much of your DNA inside me from when we and she's very clearly implying sex, but then she goes, "Oh yeah, no, don't worry, when we shared a toothbrush."
Yes, that's what she said. That's what she meant. Jared, why would you assume that they would have uh
Well, I don't know.
premarital premarital
Previously,
premarital relations, Jared?
well, in the story, in the very beginning of the storyline, where Spider goes, okay, so when we did I give her a spider transmitted disease,
Hmm.
bro? That is a pun if ever I heard one.
Yeah, they played up some of that there. Basically, the reason why MJ was like, wasn't really affected by it was because she had some immunity to the spider
I also
ability.
love where everyone's swinging by. They're like, "Oh man, this is so cool!" And then this MJ looked like Charlie Brown, just walking away, just like dun 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 dun
Hmm.
dun.
No, yeah, that was really good. They had some really good fight scenes also. I liked it where
Oh
like
yes,
they had all the Spider-Man, the evil spider dudes being beaten up by the Avengers, and
and then
Spider-Man was getting beat
Spider-Man
up.
getting beat up by the
Yeah,
Avengers. That was great.
that was funny. No, there was good
Yeah, the
stuff in it.
art was great in this storyline.
Yeah, that's something we mentioned, that like the
Okay, lad. I think lad's computer crashed. But anyway, so I'll wait for him to get back. But yeah, the art in the storyline was fantastic, like top notch. Which I feel like Spider-Man is such a fluid character, so it's kind of tricky to get like the art to properly portray like the direction Spider-Man's swinging and such. So it takes a lot of skill in order to do this properly. Just gonna check my phone to see where Lad is. But anyway, yeah, as a DC, I enjoyed it even as a DC reader. I felt it was like a really humorous storyline. They had a lot of good moments. Okay, Lad's back.
I'm back.
But anyway, so as I was saying, see, the thing about Spider-Man art is that Spider-Man's such a fluid character, pun
Yeah.
intended, that it can be tricky to properly portray him because he does a lot of like intricate movements and
Mhm.
very intricate poses.
Mhm. No, you're right. Yeah, he does a lot of flipping around and everything, but the art is like I really enjoyed like the art style, and seeing Spider-Man running around town, and some of the other spider costumes and the other heroes. It was really cool. They had some good good stuff in that, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. And I just love how there's Peter web swinging with his girlfriend, and then MJ's like,
Yeah. But I kind of, you gotta go back to MJ and Spider-Man.
Okay, so let me ask you this, dude. As a Spider-Man fan, are you more of a fan of Peter and Gwen Stacy or Peter and MJ?
Oh, that's a tough question, dude. Gwen Stacy is pretty classic. It's kind of weird that they killed her off, and she actually stayed dead for like basically permanently, like for like the longest time. She actually stayed dead, which is kind of crazy. Like in the comics, actually do like. I mean, I know like some
People
characters like
stay dead in comic
I
books?
know. Like, stuff like, his Uncle Ben dying is part of his backstory. So it's not, him staying dead's not really surprising. But like a character that was actually in the comics, like Gwen Stacy, her being killed off in the night that Gwen Stacy died, storyline, uh, you know, was pretty intense. And she actually stayed dead for the longest time. And I think finally they kind of brought her back with, Ghost Spider, Spider Gwen. She's Gwen Stacy from another world where Peter Parker died instead, kind of. And uh now I think she's on another Earth, but so technically Gwen Stacy's around, but still, I think I'm more of MJ. I just know about MJ more than Gwen Stacy, but
Personally, I'm more with MJ because I grew up on the Tobey Maguire movies.
yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, so that's just me.
Yeah, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 really depressed me when they made Gwen Stacy die.
I see. Here's the thing. I had no idea when I saw that movie for the first time. I had no idea that in the comics Gwen Stacy died.
Oh, really?
I had no idea. I thought they would just replay because I've heard of Gwen Stacy. I just didn't know she
Yeah.
died. So I
Yeah.
thought they were just saying, okay, so in this universe, he's going to end up happily ever after with Gwen Stacy. Nope.
That was so depressing. That actually hurt me when they made
When
her
it
die.
happened, I was like, wait, what just happened?
Yeah, because it seemed like he saved her, but that's like so depressing. I actually didn't.
He
I actually
saved
really didn't like
her.
that.
Here's the difference between the comic and the movie. In the comic, she's falling off a bridge.
Mm.
He throws his web out. It catches her in the momentum. Probably like snaps her neck because you see a little snap animatic on there. But in the movie, he webs her, but she smacks the floor.
Yeah, man, that was bad. Yeah,
I was like, oh, with the floor smack is so much worse. Oh.
yeah, yeah. That was really sad.
Mhm.
Yeah.
By the way, as a Spider-Man fan, I wanted to tell you this. There's a what if where Spider-Man became the Punisher
Oh,
and
really?
web shooters double as guns.
Ooh, nice.
We should it should cover that. I'm pretty sure Marvel Unlimited has it on there.
That sounds actually pretty cool. Yeah,
That is really dope.
there's some pretty trippy stuff. uh, yeah, Spider-Man has, obviously he's like one of Marvel's biggest characters. You know, up there. He's kind of like the Bat. Yeah, I don't know. Batman level important like
And
DC.
I think he's like the most powerful, the most no, not most powerful, the most popular superhero of all time.
I think he is. Yeah, I mean he's very he's very relatable. He's like a teenager. I think really hits that target demographic.
Oh, don't worry, he's very relatable. Everyone would make a deal with the devil to abolish their marriage.
I think I stand by Spidey's decision. He had to save Aunt May. Aunt May was gonna
Lad,
die. Aunt May was gonna die.
she's
He
old. She's had her time.
No, but thing is, he also didn't know that he was gonna like it was gonna be so. I mean, he knew he was gonna give up
He
that,
knew
but
because guess what? Mephisto said, "Give me your marriage," and I'm like, at that point, just first off, you're making a deal with the devil. Ask Ghost Rider how that went down.
it. Okay, yeah, sometimes it's not a good idea.
Because Ghost Rider's origin is his father was dying of cancer, and
Hmm.
Ghost Rider made a deal with the devil. Hey, save him,
Yeah.
and then I'll be your rider. And then guess what happened? He died in a motorcycle accident.
Hmm. Hmm.
So making a deal with someone named Mephisto, not a good idea.
Hmm. Hmm.
That's like the one thing where I'm pretty sure every Marvel fan wants Marvel to reboot. Get rid of that.
The thing is, I mean, look, I mentioned before, but like, I have to defend the that storyline a bit because I mean, it's cool that they actually advanced Peter's character and actually made him, finish college and get married and just actually advance in his life and progress as a character. And that's really cool to see. So I know it must be really frustrating for that to just be rebooted back to classic Peter Parker. But I mean, at the same time, you want the character to advance, but you also don't want them to change too much,
Here's
because
how you fix that. Do a comic book line that's like taking place during Spider-Man's teenage years.
I guess, but
It's just here's the thing. They did it in such a stupid way.
I think it's pretty clever. I think it's cool.
Also,
I liked it.
here's my problem with Marvel. They keep doing storylines on the surface look good, but would be much better as Elseworlds, a la Secret Freaking Empire, and
Hmm.
this. That'd be a great Elseworld story. Where DC is like to have a lot of great Elseworld story that would actually work pretty well in mainline continuity if they did something with it.
Hmm.
So I'm like, guys, because again, on the surface, the story is great. And I'm referring to Spider-Man making it with the devil because that actually, yes, I agree with you. On the surface, that's a cool storyline, but when it starts to affect the main continuity, that's when you have to decide. Okay, guys, because they could always just do a storyline where Peter Parker is during the time period that everyone likes him, and then continue this one.
Yeah, but
Lord knows they have like 80 different Spider-Man titles. Just call him Junior Spider-Man if you run out of adjectives.
I guess, but it's just kind of tough to make the character change too much. Like they have to go through struggles and trials, but if you make a character change, it's and not go back to it eventually, it's tough. Like it's easier for adult characters, to like, oh, they're dating someone there, or and then they break up or something. But with Spider-Man, he's specifically supposed to be a teenager. So like if he breaks out of those teenage years, it's more noticeable when you change the
That's true.
storyline. So Spider-Man has it a bit harder where like if you want him to have a progression, like, have a family and a marriage, for like if Iron Man did that, they could just make it that, he, breaks up, or like, the whatever happens, and he moves on with his life. But with Spider-Man, if that happens, it's more of like a permanent change, so they have to find a way to fix that. I don't know, it's kind of tough. Like I feel like if they it's kind of like equivalent to making like Batman, like, I don't know, like maybe him not being uh what's a good way, maybe like what's a good character to compare Spider-Man to, like him progressing as a character but losing part of his charm. um
Well, Batman already lost his money.
yeah. I think it'd be like that. Like if they made it a Batman like
Well, they just
lost
did.
his money, but like it stayed that way. But like he like for the progression of the character, they made it stay that way. He was always happened to be more of like a poor person and not have those funds for the gadgets, and he have to find other ways to make ends meet, like, and get a job and stuff like that.
That's a cool storyline.
It'd be a cool storyline, but I feel like you would want it to go back eventually to when he was, regular Batman with all that
That's
money
true.
and his, Wayne, Wayne Industries and everything. I feel like that's part of the problem that Spider-Man has also, that you want him to advance, but you also like you want him to still be that teenager, uncertain with himself, trying to figure out who he is. So sometimes, but he goes through soft reboots, but I guess this was one where it's like, you know, it's like a, it's a tough situation.
That's cool. By the way, do you know that there's actually an in-canon explanation for why no one ages in the Marvel universe?
Oh, really?
Franklin Richards preserves the superheroes he likes.
Hmm?
That's why.
Really?
Yeah, that's why. So he keeps them young, the superheroes he likes,
Man,
because he never wanted them to grow old and go away.
that's kind of funny, actually.
And I'm like, yeah. And go back to what you're saying. I see what you're saying. That's kind of also the problem with Marvel, the way Marvel does their timeline, because the way DC does this every 5 years is a reboot. Marvel's never really had like a new 52 style reboot. What they just do is like move the time scale forward and backwards, so somehow it lines up that these are the same characters from like the 40s and 60s, but happen to be now in like the 2020s.
That's a good way to describe it. Moving the time scale, because that's really kind of what they do. I kind of like that about Marvel, though, that their
That's true.
continuity is kind of like, I know they have some alternate Earth stuff every now and then, or the comics that don't really fit in continuity get pushed onto another Earth. But the fact that their main continuity is kind of like one thing straight through is cool. It's also sometimes bad because you can't reinvent the character. Like DC has, like, like you said, they have, like every like 5 years or so. I mean, I think in the past they were more just one long continuity, but then they started doing like more of like soft reboots every now and then, like you
Because
said.
what they
And
do is that they'll do a full on reboot, and then they'll do other smaller reboots to sort of clean up the continuity that's left behind. Because there are times when they'll do like a complete reboot from number one, and then there'll still be stuff that doesn't line up. So they'll say, okay, we're going to do convergence here to clean it up. Horrible story, by the way.
oh, really?
Yeah, New 52. DC has had some pretty rough reboots at times, or like attempts
Mm,
at reboots.
really?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know about that.
But my point is that they'll be like they'll kind of do multiple crises slash reboot like events,
Mm,
but they'll be like a small scale to kind of like clean up continuity, like Superman Reborn from the Rebirth.
mm,
That was kind of a reset of the continuity, because when they merged the two Supermen together, they merged the two timelines together, and that changed and that established the Rebirth timeline.
hmm. Yeah, I see what you're saying. That's a good point.
All right. All right. Anything else you want to say about Spidey Island?
Nope, I think that covered it pretty well. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Great, and you discussed it well. So, so everyone, just a little preview of the future, and we're gonna try and do more than one episode a week. We'll just see how our schedules line up. Regardless, we are going to do a full-on Bad Batch episode, as I mentioned, on the YouTube channel. By the way, subscribe to the YouTube channel at Comics League Network. It has the same channel art as the podcast. And from there, you can find like all of our other shows that we're trying to start up, like our Star Wars show called Knights of Mandalore. And then we also have our Halo show. We have lots of other great content coming to YouTube. And then we're coming up on the 1 year anniversary of the podcast. So that'll be a really fun one.
That's gonna be good.
Yeah, exactly. And then so once again, we're gonna do like lots of other episodes. And then so let's see, what else did I want to say? Oh, also, yeah, definitely check out the YouTube channel so you can see our handsome faces and see like the the visuals from when we do these storylines. Because what happens is Lad and I share screens from like DC Universe or Marvel Unlimited, so we can show you the art, show you what we're talking about, and then we go through the story that way. Because I find that that's more engaging if you can see what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And so definitely check out the YouTube channel. And yeah, we're gonna we have lots of great content coming down, lots of great guests. I will have a guest on tomorrow. If you want to hop on the show, then you're perfectly welcome to. We'll probably have get Mitch back, because he and I and Lad normally have great conversations. And yeah, we look forward to what else we have going on this summer. All right. Have a good, I can say this now. Have a good weekend, everyone. Stay
Yeah.
heroic.